In this video, we're going to go through the concepts of Google Tag Manager. So what exactly is a tag and why do we need to manage them? Well, a tag is a snippet of code that's designed to execute on a web page. Tags can serve a variety of uses, but most tags that you're going to use with Tag Manager are designed to send information from your site to a third party. So for example, Google Analytics tags or Google AdWords conversion and tracking tags. Both of these will send information about the activity on your site to Google. So then you can look at that information in your Google Analytics and create reports and analyze all of your information. Now, if you don't use a tag management solution like Google Tag Manager, then you need to add all of that code for your tags directly to the source code of the website. So you can see how that would be inconvenient and difficult to manage. Now with Tag Manager, you can instead control all of your tags conveniently right from this web user interface. Tags are typically designed to execute or fire when a page loads or in response to some sort of interaction on the page. So for example, you could set them to fire when somebody clicks to fill out a form. That may be a trigger. So you can define these triggers with your tags from here within your Google Tag Manager. Now let's have a look. Right now I'm on the overview, so I can see everything. And obviously we don't have a lot going on here because this is a new account. But if we click on our tags, now we can create a new tag. So we can see this container has no tags. We can click new to create one. So we can title our tag up at the top. Then we can choose the product. So we could choose Google Analytics or Google AdWords, or any one of these. We can also click on Show More, and it shows us a few more options that are available to us. Then we can configure our tag and we can set when it's supposed to fire. Now if we go back over to our left-hand pane, below our tags is our triggers. And under triggers, we can do the same thing. We can click new to create a new trigger. We can title our trigger and then we can choose an event for it to fire. So it could be page view, click, form, or any one of these others. Now, triggers are conditions that evaluate to either true or false at runtime. So it does this by comparing the value in a variable with the value that you specify when you define your trigger. So a tag manager variable is a configured name-value pair for which the value is populated during the runtime. Tag Manager has many built-in variables, and you can configure custom variables as well. So let's have a look at our variables. Over here on the left-hand pane again, below our triggers are our variables. So if we click on our variables tag, we can enable built-in variables. So here's some of the different variables that are available to us. So there's utilities, events, container IDs, some of the error messages that are available to us, histories and forms. These are some of the different variables. And if we scroll down, you can see user-defined variables, and you can actually click on New, and you can walk through creating your own variable as well. Now this is done in much the same way as you would create your own tags and triggers. So up at the top, we can, of course, title our variable, and then we can choose the type. So whether it's going to be a first-party cookie, an auto-event variable, a constant, there's a lot to choose from here. Let's take a look at the data layer variable. Well, let's say that you wanted to define a variable that contains the price of an item on your e-commerce website. Well, how does that variable know an item's price at runtime? It can retrieve the price from the data layer in your source code. And you'll need to work with your site developer to actually get this set up with a data layer object that contains the information you need. But once that's done, the data layer is an object that can be configured to contain information that you want to pass on to your Google Tag Manager. The data layer variables may be configured in your Tag Manager to capture these values for later use. So in order for your Google Tag Manager to assess the value of the data layer variable, an event has to be pushed as well. So let's say, for example, that you want a trigger to fire whenever A visitor spends more than $100 on your site. Well, the trigger for the tag will need to know the value of the visitor's transaction in order to evaluate whether or not it exceeds $100. So to set this up, you need to push the transaction value onto the data layer using the datalayer.push method and define a variable that retrieves the value on checkout so that it can be evaluated by the trigger. So that's how you would use variables and the data layer itself. In this video, we looked at the Google Tag Manager concepts.